Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from where when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy with yet another video. And in today's video I'll be showing you how you can create this professional pricing component using Tailwind CSS. So without so much ado, let's get this started, shall we? Okay, so what I've just done to make this video as short as possible and only to deliver what is important, I've already prepared the basic HTML structure that we need to create this professional pricing component, and within the head I've also linked to the Tailwind CSS using the CDN. Because we're not going to use any custom CSS, I'm just going to use the CDN for this specific project, but feel free to use either the downloaded Tailwind CSS or just use the CDN. So I'm just going to go right ahead to the body. You can see now from this other end here we have the browser from where we'll be previewing what we are doing on this other end here. So to get started, I'm just going to create a container, and I would want to first of all style this container. So I'm going to have it with a class, and the first class that I'm going to apply there is the mAuto, which will now make the card to be at the center of this container. And I'm also going to give it a maximum width of 7XL. So I'm just going to say max W 7XL. For the padding right and left, I'm going to give it 6, and on large screens I should have the margin, or rather the padding left and right go to 8. Sorry. Okay, so that's it with that first container there. So now I'm going to get inside that container, and I'm also going to have yet another container. So div, and as usual I'm also going to start with styling this container. And so that now we can have that visual view of what we are doing, I'm going to have this with a background color, so that will be select 100. And for the margin, again I'm going to give it a margin of auto, so that is M auto. I'm also going to talk about the margin top, and I'm going to give that 16. And for the maximum margin, I'm going to talk about max 2XL. So sorry, this should be maximum width, so I have to include the width, and then I can now say the 2XL. And I also want this div to be rounded a little, so I'm going to talk about 3 extra large. And I also want to have some sort of a border around it, so I'm going to talk about ring with the size of 1. And for the color of this specific border, I'm going to give it gray. So it will be ring 1, ring gray 100. Okay, so I wanted this card to be mobile first, so I need also to add the classes that will enable me to do that, or that will make the site to be mobile first. So I'm going to talk about small, and on small devices the margin top should be 20, and on large screens the margin should be 0, and I should also make it to flex on large screens, so that is to be it will look like it's in a low layout. So I'm going to talk about LG, and then it will be max width of So on large screens we want it to flex, that is to be in a horizontal layout. Still on large screens I also want to have it with a maximum width of none. So let's refresh and see what we have so far here. So you can see we have that specific ring there. So the moment we start adding any content inside this div, we should now start to see that taking some shape. So let's just test it a little. Yeah, so we have something like that. So that tells us that everything is working fine. So I can now go ahead and start adding more content now inside this specific div or container. So still inside that container I'm going to create yet another container, and what I'm now going to do is I'm also going to style it first. So give it a class, and the first thing is to give it a padding all rounded of 8, and on small devices the padding should increase to 10. On large screens we want this to flex, so I'm going to talk about LG flex out. Okay, so let me fix this, just a minute. Flex auto, yes, like that. And so now we are going to have our first text. So this should appear in H3. So I'm going to have a H3 here, and we can just have some text here. Yeah, so something like that. So let's just refresh and see what we have so far. Yeah, so that's what we got there. Well, so if you're curious enough, you notice that we don't have the ring or the border allowed this, and that is basically because they have the same color saturation. So I need to come and have this increased to 2, and I can also come and fix this one here. So here we should have a hyphen, so it is a padding right and left of a 6. So that's it with that. So just below that we're also going to have some other text, so that will be in a paragraph. And so maybe I can just talk of rem times 2. Let me see, times 2, what we're going to get. Yeah, so we just want to have some dummy text there, and that looks to be a lot. Let me just have something like that. Yeah, at least that's not that too much. So that's enough for that. So now we can move ahead to the next. So let me also have this down here just for clear understanding, so that now we are able to know where we are. So here we need yet another container. So just below the paragraph we create yet another container, and let me just scroll up here so that it's visible. And first of all I would like to style this class, this container as usual. So I'm going to have it with a class, and first thing is to give it a margin so that we have a space between it and the paragraph. And the items should be aligned in a row, and we should also have the items centered, so I can talk of items center. And also the gap between this text should be 4. So I'm going to talk about the gap, and because it is within a row I'm going to talk about X, and that now can help me to define the size, which should be 4, the size of the space. And now inside that container now I can now come and have the content which will be in a H4. So we put a H4, and I'm going to style this as usual. So give it a few classes. So class is equals to, and we want it to flex none, so we don't want it to flex, and the text should be small. We also want the font to be semi-bold, so semi-bold, and we can also make it a bit readable, so we add reading, a reading of 6. For the text color, we can talk about text indigo. The saturation should be 600, and that's it. So we can now have the text. So the text now inside there should be what? So what's included? Yeah, so something like that, and we are done with that. So just below that heading, the H4 that is, we can have yet another container. And now before we add anything, let's just style it. So we can have a class, and we're going to talk about HPX, and we should have it flexing auto. And for the background, we can talk about BG gray 100. So BG gray 100. So we're just going to have that just sitting there. So in fact, I'm just going to get rid of this white space that we have here, like so. Sorry, just like that. So now we are done with that. So we now want to just below those two divs, let me just show you that. So that should be there alone, but now outside that div that started here, we want now to come and have yet another now below that we want now to come and have the unordered list. So we're going to have a UL, and inside this we are going to have several LIs. So that is LI, maybe I can start with 4. So just in case we need more, we're just going to add. And so the first thing that we are going to do is to style the unordered list. So we'll talk of class just before we review this and see what we have. So the margin top, we give it 100. We want this to be in a grid, so have a grid which will be in columns. Sorry, so grid in columns, and we're just going to have one column, and the spacing between the columns should be 4. We also want the text to be small, and just to make it readable, as usual, we are going to add a reading of 6. And for the color, we talk of gray 600, and just to make it responsive, we are going to say that on small devices, the grids should now collapse to 2 columns. So 2 columns, and still on the small devices, the gap now between the 2 columns should be 6. Just increase the spacing around that. So those are the ULIs that I mean the ordered list. So now let's try to style the unordered, the list themselves. Sorry, the list themselves. And so class, and what we're going to do is just make them to flex with a gap of 3. So something like that. Yes, so now within the LI, we're just going to have the content. So this one should be private. Let me just talk of private like that, and that should be, let's talk of what for private forum access, like that. And here we can come and talk of member resources, and what else can we include here? We can also talk about entry annual conference. So that is entry and we can also lastly talk about official member t-shirt. So something like that, and we are good. So let's just refresh and see what we have. And this is what we have on a small screen. This is how it will look like. So let's try to see on a bigger screen. This is how it looks like. So it looks like we messed up somewhere here, because this we need it to be somewhere here. So let's see how we can be able to fix that. Okay, so let me see. Oh, this one is open here. So I think I confused with this one, because now this one should be here. The unordered list should be. Let me just show you that. I just want to collapse this, yeah, like that. So you can be able to grab this one, and so it should not be outside this div, it should be within it. So let us see. So I should include that here, like so. So now let me try to refresh and see if that is fixed. Yes, so now we should have it like that, and when we move to a larger screen, yes, now it should look like that. So that's what we need over there. We might add some SVGs here for this, yeah, but for now let's just have it like that. So after that list, now the next thing that we also need to do is to get out of that specific container. So this container, and just below it, below the container where we are having the unordered list closed, we're going to create yet another container, and I would like to style it again first before we have any content. So should have a class, and the first thing that we want to do is to do the margin top. So we're going to give that 2. The padding all louded should be 2, and because we want it to be responsive, we're going to say that on large screens the margin top should get to 0. So that is empty 0. And on large screens again, the width should get to full. On large screens again, the max width should sorry, this one should not be in capital letters, so LG, and this one should be, so let me fix this. Yeah, so here I'm talking of LG being a max width of MD. On large screens again, this one should flex shrink, so that is flex shrink 0. Yeah, so something like that, and does it with that specific container over there. So now just below it, or inside it rather, I'm also going to create yet another container, and so again I'm going to start by styling it. So and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make it loaded extra large, in fact 2 extra large, and for the background color we're going to give it a gradient color. So in that case we're going to call BG and gradient, and we want to have this from top right, so to Al, so it should start from right, sorry, and it should go to so the gradient will be from right, sorry, and the first color we're going to come and talk about purple. So this is the first color, so from purple 500, and the second color, so we're going to say to pink 500, and the padding top and bottom should be 10. And the next thing that we also want to do is to make the text to be center. We also want to have just a border around that, so we're going to use the ring, and we want to have it outside, so we're going to say ring inset, and for the color of that ring or that border should be gray 900. On large screens we should have these flex. On large screens again we should have it, not just flex but flex column, and on large screens again we should have the content justify center. Large screens again, the padding top and bottom will be 16. So we will review that when we have some content. Right now we might not be able to see anything, so let's just try to add one more container, so that now we can be able to add the content. So create another container, and we're going to style it as usual. So class, and the first thing is the margin. We want we want the content to be at the center, so the margin should be auto. Maximum width, so we're going to talk about extra small, and margin padding left and right will give it 8. So let's now have some content within that container that we've just created. So that should be in a paragraph. So a paragraph, and you know that we should first of all style it. So class is equals to, and for the text we're going to talk about text base, and for the font, so the font should be semi-bold. For the color we will talk about gray 100. And that's it. So we can just try to have some content now within that specific paragraph. So let me just break it like that. So now we can have the text here. So pay once, made forever. So let's try to refresh and see now so far what we have. So you see now what we have here. So I also want to enter again, just refresh it one more time. For some reasons we are not seeing the text. I don't know why. Okay, let me see. Oh, sorry, the color, and we have it with the long color. So the text should be text gray 100. I think it's because of the gradient color here. We have to fix that. Let me see now. So we have yeah, something like that. So now we continue to add some content there. So just below the paragraph, we're now going to have the price. So just below that, we're going to come and have a span. Span. And okay, this is just to help us to have the price. And again, as usual, we start with styling it. So for the text, we're going to talk about 5 extra large, and the font should also be bold with a tracking of tight. This is just to make the text to be close to each other. Yeah, and we also want to talk about the color of the text. So the text color should be gray 100. Okay, so we'll still have another span. So just below that. So it's just a minute. We try and see. Yeah, like that. So we can have another span. So this will just have the the currency. Yeah, so like the dollars, Kenya shillings, and all that. So the styling, and here we're talking of the text being small, the font being semi-bold, with a reading of 6, tracking of wide, just to make it spaced out, and the color should be 100. Sorry, we've missed something. Oh yeah, you just have the quotes like that. That should be it. Sorry, so here we should have the price. We forgot the price here, so we're going to have it in dollars. So we can say 500 dollars. So we also need to come and include the dollars here. So US dollars. Oh, sorry. So US dollars. Okay, so the last thing that we also need to add there is the button. So just below the paragraph. So let's just go to the paragraph. Is the paragraph? Oh, sorry. We should do something here. I'm just going to grab this first and cut it, so that now inside. So that now before we have the span, I want to basically have the span wrapped within a paragraph, basically. So something like this. Let me just show you. And as usual, I'm going to first of all style it. So like cross is equals to, and we won't talk about the margin top. So empty of 6, and it should flex. Items should be at the baseline. It's baseline. So baseline. We should also like justify center. So justify center, and the spacing between those should be 2. So gap x2. Okay, so now it is now within this paragraph that we can include the span. So those the price, and basically the price, and the symbol there. Okay, so that's about it. So that now below that we can now have the button that a person can, the CTA, yeah, call to action. So so I'll have that as an anchor tag. So the anchor tag, and as usual the styling. So I'm going to talk about so just a minute. Let's see. Yeah, something like that. So now we can be able to come and add the class, and the first thing is the margin. So MT should be 10. Width, we're going to give it a width of full. It should also have it rounded medium, a BG of white, a PX of 3, and a PY of 2. The text should be centered. We also want the text to be small, and also font of semi-bold. So semi-bold. The color of the text should be gray, 800, and we should also add a shadow, a small shadow. So I'm just going to talk about a shadow, sorry, SM. Sorry, that's getting too long. Let me just print that a little. Yeah, so now we can come and now talk about hover. When it is hovered on, what should happen? So the BG should change to BG of select 500, focus visible. So it's like we're just adding an outline or something. So visible outline, and again focus visible outline too. Just some hovering effects. It's not a must that you add them. So again, focus visible outline offset. And so now we have styled that button there. So we just now need one more thing, the last thing. So now we can be able to preview what's happening there. So just within that anchor tag, sorry, just outside it. So let me just get rid of this white space. So now we can have the last paragraph, and now as usual we need to style it. So class, and the first thing as usual is the margin top. We want some spaces there. So that is XS, extra small, reading of 5, and the text should be gray 100. And we can just come and have some content now within that paragraph, and we can say so something like that. So let's refresh and see what we got here. That's what we have. We need to refresh it one more time. Okay, so we have it like that, but we need to fix something here. I don't know what's happening with this one. Oh sorry, we made a mistake somewhere. Where is this 500? Because we should have it inside here. Oops. Okay, so we have it there. Oh, sorry, yeah, we forgot to add some content here. We should just get access. Oops, looks like we're still having issues with that. What's up? Yeah, like that, but why is margin top not working? Okay, so just trying to review this, and margin is okay. Let's try to add a block. So that is block, and try to refresh it now and see. Yes, so we have something like that, and that looks good. But we have a problem because this space here is quite big. It should be equal to this. Let's try and see how we can fix that. So this one should usually is starting here. Let me see on a small screen, how does it look? On a small screen it looks okay, but what's happening on a bigger screen? Let's see. Okay, so the thing that I'm going to do here is, I think this LI is the one that is having some issues. Let me just try to get rid of this 8, that is the margin top, and after getting rid of that, let me see how it looks on a small screen. So on a small screen we are good. So let's see on large screens. On large screens we are good. Yeah, so that's about it. This one should be bold a little. Let's see, lifetime, and we can style this h3. We forgot that. So and a few classes here for this one. So this one should have text being 2 extra large. Sorry, we also want the font to be bold, and the text should be clear 900. And that should be okay. So refresh. Yep, so that's about it there. Okay, so that's it. So I hope the video was great. At least you can be able to create your own stuff like this and include it in your main project. And so until the next time, take care. See you then.